right, team. So I'm really overwhelmed because moderator's job is the easiest of all. But let me thank Professor Debolina, who requested me a month back to be here on Sunday, and she said no free meals, you have to look at them. There are a lot of future customers and future employee talent base you have. And this is where I wanted to tell you all that I had the proud privilege when I joined Wipro in 2007, about 18 years back. This was the first proposal which was sold to the chairman's office to go and search for talent who served our country from best known B schools in India. And that's when I went to IIM Lucknow, picked up a dozen of senior officers. And I'm proud today, Sachin Virkar sir, I call him sir because he worked for me, Lieutenant Colonel Sachin Virkar, Pune based leader, currently serves as a Vice President of Human Resource for a large mid-size ITS organization. That's the product of real good work. People like us went back to senior officers from the Indian services to get them that appropriate placements in the industry. And I live by example that I will stick to that oath of looking at such talents. Besides, we looking at significantly good talent out there in the market, which we do in thousands year after year. So big salute to all of you, sirs. First to go with Anupam and Rachita, in that sequence, right? What are the different employment sectors we are talking about here when it comes to GCC? And what is the real opportunities? Because aap log to ground mein hai na, ball and bat is with you, the person comes bowls at that speed. So you realize the value proposition from the senior leaders all the time, right? What are the sectors we are talking about? What are the real opportunities?
Thanks, Pravin. First of all, it's both honor and privilege to standing in front of you, and my deepest respect and heartful gratitude to all the people who serve defense services guarding our nation and its values. So coming back to the question from GCC, I think this name evolved, this particular name GCC, Global Capability Centers, right? This name evolved not many years ago. It used to be like offshoring, outsourced, and that way how it's been known when I started my career. And the capability term is coming because over the period of time we have built that trust at the global platform, like yes, we can do that, and those capabilities can be developed here, that can be found here. In terms of industries, what we're talking about, right? What it is bringing in on the table for us and for the talent in this industry. Across sector, you talk about IT automation, that's for the most common, most known sector where the most IT companies are building their GCCs here, right? And the kind of global exposure we are bringing through that. It is in the hospitality, a lot of foreign chain and all the other centers are coming in here. Right. Recently, some of this oil and gas industries, they also start operating here. Even if you look at all the industries, what we are doing here is, and the kind of operations and the functions, the departments, they're coming here is like you're saying IT, technology, operations, finance, accounting, HR, right? And a lot more such similar function, what is required to build a capability center in India particularly. So it's a kind of a diversification of what we are getting, the global exposure what we are getting, and the way we have proven ourselves, the different dimension that we can look into that, right? The first of all, the experience we have done, a lot of migration we have seen initially from India to foreign, now we are seeing in the reverse way. It is also bringing a lot of capabilities back in India. And there's a lot of opportunities, the job has been created for everybody, given the expertise and the skills and the fitment what you have. Right. So that's my 2 cents on that, Pravin. Rajita, you want to add?
Morning, everybody. Immense gratitude to be here, and thanks to Professor Debolina and for driving us through the entire thing. My take on GCCs is, like Jay sir said, it's across industries. It's not just limited to IT. And many a times the way we interpret what's coming in, I think requires a little bit of a mindset and a mind shift change. So if you look at it from that standpoint, the opportunities are immense. However, whether we fit into those or not is what makes the difference. So I'm going to talk about what is needed in today's GCC setup in India, right? And this is like almost a decade plus old. They say, you know, fundamentals always remain fundamentals regardless of eras that you work out of. So they're the 5 minds of the future. The first, and this was by Howard Gardner, not my own. The first is that you need to have, you know, a creative mind. The second is you need to have a synthesizing mind. The third is you need to have a respectful mind. The fourth is you need to have a disciplined mind. And the most important is you need to have an ethical mindset. So for you to be successful in any setup, whether it's GCC or otherwise, these are needed. If you move on and break down with regards to what is GCCs wanting to do in India, I think the story is the headline, that it's talent, talent, talent. And it's also not just the 18-month talent that will be with us, but also somebody who's been in the system who understands and can bring a different perspective. Today, perspective is what differentiates you from the others, both from a company standpoint and a customer standpoint. So very practically, if you know what your stakeholders want, then that's where the companies are heading to.
Interesting. And thanks, Rajita and Anupam. Way back in '98, when I got an offer from Praxair, and it was a joint venture between Jindal and Praxair, and Sajjanji was part of the panel, there were an operational model which was designed when Praxair came to India, which was very complex. They came with key competency of gas manufacturing by tying up with not BOCs of the world, which was in existence for several years, not the Inox of the world, but they went to Praxair. Praxair was very new to India. They gave a red carpet welcome in a place called Ballari JVSL, Jindal Vijayanagar Steel, right? I was the head of HR of that unit. The only capability which they spoke about at that point in time, initiating a captive steel plant which can operationalize by using a technology called Corex to generate. Normally steel is manufactured using coal, if you know a little bit of science, right? Now, what is happening out there when it comes to operational model or skill model when we talk about GCC? Bini?
I think the extension of the question was also about is it India versus the rest of the world, right? So once again, thank you very much for the opportunity and for your service. Again, immensely grateful for all that you've done for us, and I think our experience pales in comparison with what you've done for all of us. I had an apprehension as well quite early in the 90s about what am I going to do, quite similar to the ones here who are transitioning into corporates. And I think I have to be thankful to the likes of Mr. Chaudhary with Chandrababu Naidu and S.M. Krishna back then, who envisioned this whole thing. And because of that, I think we have this talk today. So I'm grateful for all of that. So what I'm seeing is this is a challenge that we are discussing in our current organization as well. But I see that Indians have a great advantage, and the biggest advantage that we have is we are extremely resourceful. We are very quick to adapt. So like you mentioned, there's a new technology or a new requirement. We are quick to learn that, when we are able to upsell that to our clients. And we have built trust over the years. And if you look at GCC data, most of the companies that are setting up GCCs in India, they're predominantly US. About 65% of those companies are predominantly US. And US is a highly capitalistic country. They would look for bang for the buck, right? And if they need bang for buck, they have all the talent that they would need at the lowest cost. I remember when I started my career and I had access to look at the salary data of US versus India, and I was shocked, and we used to discuss with our friends, we are paid like a fraction of what they were paid. And I think there's a transition that's happening right now, where initially it was looked at as cheap labor, but right now we are looking at it as an intellectual capital of this world. And we are hedged quite well. I think as somebody who's gone through this management program, you must have also heard of the Porter's 5 Forces. And I'm going to pick up on Mr. Sundar Raju's talk about strategy. I think India played it really well because we've hedged ourselves very well with creating these talent pools, this infrastructure. Our markets are so mature that I don't think there's a lot of other countries who can compete with us. The only challenge that I see is countries like Poland and Romania coming up, but those are typically being sought after by European countries, and we, for example, have 50 plus countries where we operate. And I see that some of our leaders want to set it up in Europe, some of them want to set it up in India, and tier 2 countries, tier 2 cities and things like that, but nobody can compete with India at the moment. So I think we are hedged quite well from that point of view with the operating model, and then it's expanded beyond what we started off with research centers and IT and all of that, to not calling ourselves offshore anymore. Initially it was called ODCs and things like that. Right now we are an extension of the organization. So if it is Microsoft, it is Microsoft, and we are an extension rather than an offshore account.